Sunday's workshop. Tomorrow is Sunday. So for today's workshop and this afternoon's workshop and tomorrow's workshop, the aim is really for us to have a discussion on how we can have a deeper relationship within the teens group, and both among yourself and between the teens and adult counselors. The goal is for you to develop a closer relationship with the Lord and with yourself. And so for this 11 to noon workshop, we're going to discuss that the teens who have gone through the disciple share their experience. And then this afternoon, we're going to discuss the summer plan. So what are we going to do in the summer? And then tomorrow, we are going to discuss what we are going to do, or what we are having in mind to do in the fall, and let us discuss how we should do it. And so all three need your participation. And so the idea is for you to own the idea and of how to run the teens group, because ultimately it is your group and it is not my group. And we are here to support you guys, but how to develop the relationship, you have to own it. I cannot make friends on your behalf, right? And so that's the idea. So whatever we come up with, at least for the summer plan, and you need to own it, and the parents will support it. But you have to 100% buy into it, right? And what you are going to, people are going to do. Yeah. So I think the idea is such. And for now, we move on to the discipleship sharing. So let me just lay the background. So back in Easter time, if you remember, we have a baptism of 16 teens, and so that was a really remarkable event, and so it's truly a blessing. And coming out of that is basically a challenge in front of the congregation, is how to help those newly baptized Christians grow in the Lord. And so with the commitment of all the adult counselors, we have 5 disciple team formed, and 5 mentors mentor 17 teens. So it started in August 2015, so it has been almost a year, so we're reaching the 1-year anniversary. And so reflecting on that, I invited all the disciples to share their experience. And so I have some suggested topics to talk about, let's say, the breakthrough that they experienced and the feedback they would like to give, how to improve upon what we have and so forth. We also have a few mentors here, and we can also share our perspective. The idea is very simple. So if Jesus said we need to make disciples, then he will be with us through the end of the earth. And we need to do it. It's not whether or we do it, it's how we do it, right? So I think that's the backdrop of today's sharing, and to give people the idea, the background for those who do not know the discipleship program. So with that, I'm just going to open up the floor to the people who have gone through this discipleship program, and we have quite a few of us here.
So one of the great things about discipleship is like when you have questions, it's a really easier way to ask your questions to your mentor or to your own peers. So like, for example, if you don't know what the Spirit is, you can just go and say, hey, like Jeff, what's the Holy Spirit? Like, how do I get it? Like, how do we go closer? And it's like when we have these like our own personal like problems or issues. So like, for example, like I was debating, like my friends invited me to go to like their temple for some like can you do the thing? I don't know. And I was like, I don't know if I should go, so I'm gonna go ask Jeff. So it's like, it's just like all these little things. Like there's someone that you can go to and you can ask. And also it's like a consistent meeting of having like a real Christian friendship. It's not just not having Christian talk, it's just having that Christian talk on a consistent basis. So it's pretty nice.
Thank you. And on that, so it's also a stimulus for mentors. For instance, I was not that familiar, well-versed what the Spirit is. So because of the question that people ask in the discipleship, I need to do a personal study on those topics. And so I started to do those personal studies, and so I think the Spirit is one topic I have dived into. And the next topic I'm diving into is the monotheistic God versus triune God. How do you reconcile that theologically? And hopefully we'll have some sharing later on. Yeah. Okay.
In my opinion, the discipleship program is really good because it allows you to grow spiritually as a small fellowship. Because sometimes, like, you can't really grow just by going to church and listening to sermons. Well, you can grow a little bit, but the sermons are so like broadly generalized, and like not every single sermon is going to speak to you. And so having a discipleship meeting every single week where you can actually ask questions and discuss with your group, it really helps you to be able to grow faster and to be able to study God's Word a lot deeper. But one thing that I would suggest if you are going to join the discipleship program is to really commit to it, because although it is really good, it's also a lot of work. Because there's always going to be weekly meetings, and sometimes if maybe like 2 people don't show up to that meeting, the meeting will most likely not happen. So one thing I would recommend is that if you are going to join the discipleship group, make sure you set up a time that you can constantly can rely on and always get to that meeting.
So, in the beginning, I was a little hesitant to join, but Steven convinced me, so I was all in. And then once I joined, I realized, like, I thought I was like a true Christian, but once we got into the Bible, I realized it's always I realized that I'm nowhere close to where I should be in my spiritual faith, and that through the discipleship training, I got closer to what I think I needed to be, and I just learned a lot from Jeff, and how to take notes while reading, how to read the Bible in general, evangelizing, and I've also grown closer to Eddie, Arthur, and Stephen through the process, and like becoming more of a brotherhood. So it's a really good way to bond as well with your peers, and it just sets a time for, because most of us we have a pretty busy schedule, and it just sets a time for us all to meet in one spot where we can just dive into the Bible and go deep in, and just give it your all in that one week, and then reflect on it the rest of the week.
I agree with CJ on that point about like how you can bridge from just being friends in the church and see each other at fellowship and teens group and stuff. And usually you talk about like school and stuff, but discipleship helped me kind of have a bridge or a transition into talking about more spiritual stuff and actually discussing with each other about each other's lives and difficulties and everything. And we got to actually discuss things. It wasn't really kind of teaching student discourse. It was more of like a discussion in a group.
But going back to what I said, through the times that I went through discipleship, I also got like especially close to Stephen. So I call him my mentor now because I go to him for a lot of advice.
That's the way to be.
Well, for me, it was like a smaller scale of like what we did this morning, right? Because like this morning for devotion, it was like a particular point about devotions is that you're able to see a lot of different sides of like one particular passage that you would have never thought of by yourself, and it like helps you open up your mind to other ideas and other ways of thinking that can really influence you. And on a spiritual level, it's like, well, opening your mind just lets you be more open to, like, I don't want to say improvement, but just getting better at spending time with God and getting a stronger commitment and having stronger faith. And overall, that like it really puts a lot in your character, and being able to provide yourself for other people, for 3 other people, is really relieving, especially during like times of stress. Because during like the school year and like a lot of things are going on with random stuff in people's lives. So being able to just come together and like share your problems and just relieve yourself of heavy burdens is a pretty good feeling that help you a lot.
I agree with the discipleship really helped have discussion on different points of view and how different people take on different subjects, and basically like all of us slightly like similar thoughts but then more nuanced differences in everybody's viewpoints. Interesting discussion.
I think that discipleship is a lot better than like just like reading the Bible by yourself and trying to observe it. Because like you're getting other people's ideas along with yours, so you're getting like double or like triple the info than if you were to just read the Bible by yourself. And also, like CJ said, it's also like a brotherhood. Instead of just being like, oh, we're friends, it's more like, oh, we're brothers and sisters. Like, we're one family.
I think like the aspect that one of both with you, they really can teach you how to live your life because they've been through a lot of things.
And also, to add on to what you were saying, it really lets you see like what your peers think of a certain subject, and like with services and messages that adults give, it's based on their point of view, and you can see how like people older than you can look at certain subjects within discipleship. You get to see that and what your peers see, and like helps you learn more about their personalities and their viewpoints and how they view life.
So in our discipleship, we also did celebrity shared, so we were able to share questions together and like our observations, and we
their humanities project was a slam poem. So they wrote about Christianity and they shared it in front of all the humanities kids. So Stephanie wanted us to share that with you guys today.
Yeah, so this is, yay. So Maria,
Grace and April.
yeah, they wrote this.
What words come to mind when you hear the word Christianity?
Judgmental,
Homophobic.
second the past.
You say the Bible is just a work of fiction,
Something a bunch of men wrote in their free time.
but to me, it is an account of undeniable history,
The story of how humanity was
redeemed. This world, broken and hurting,
is far from what it was created to be.
only the gospel, the light in the midst of darkness, can save it.
But instead, this free gift of salvation is often rejected,
Neglected.
ignored.
It is offered to everyone.
But only if you take it.
I am a Christian. Preachers say that faith is supposed to be like a speeding truck, making a huge impact on your life that everyone notices and sees.
I've never fully felt that impact, but I want to experience the rush.
The joy that comes with being on fire for Christ. I want to proclaim my faith. But why am I afraid?
Why am I afraid to share the gospel in my Lord who saved my life?
I could blame this generation for my fear. I could say they think we elevate ourselves above all else, acting like a whole bunch of holier than us. Is that any excuse?
Would I rather stand with the world and be judged by God?
Or stand with my God and be judged by the world?
If this is how I am, who am I to say that I follow God?
If I can't carry out God's will for me and let it be known, then I am nothing more than a Sunday Christian.
He sacrificed his only son, so that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life.
And yet I keep God in a box.
Is he even affecting my life if I cherish my academics and hobbies more than his word and unfailing love?
Why do I sit still after he has painted the cross crimson with his blood?
When my friends right next to me have not yet understood the truth that can save them.
Instead of living comfortably, I want to carry out his will. So I've decided not to live like a fake anymore.
I'm not afraid to throw my image out the door.
Challenge the life I've been living and proclaim that Jesus is Lord, because this is what I believe in.
If I can't live it out,
Who am I to say that I am a Christian?
So good.
That is.
That's so good. So for our group, just for people who are curious and what we do during the discipleship times, and for our group, we meet weekly, or try to meet weekly. I think we stick to it pretty rigorously. And so it is definitely a lot of commitment, and it's not easy. And so typically we spend an hour and a half, and so we first go through scripture reading that we do at the same time. So we go through a book of Deuteronomy, and we go through the book of Gospel of John, and during this 1 year. And then we also read some scripture book, spiritual book, and together. And then we have some kind of personal Q&A time. And over the course of the year, we also try to witness to Danny, and who come to Teens Group occasionally, but because of his family, he cannot come, so we just go to him. And so that's roughly what we did this year.
Yeah, for my group, I have Jason, George, and Joshua. So at the beginning, we meet quite frequently, and then gradually we lose up, because that will be the stage we try to get loose. Eventually, every group, even family members, you have to face the challenge. Eventually, you have to be on your own. So, for me, the purpose, and from the beginning, even for the goal for this discipleship, I hope when we get away from each other, they can hold some value on their own, to learn, continue on to do how they will do, through what I try to input to their life. The thing I want to challenge them is not as much as like Jeff's group daily, activity. Instead, is a challenge to them to know themselves first. I guess we have a lot of failures, right? So when we try to see, we read the book. Besides the Follow Me, there's another book, is the Dignity, right? Living in Dignity, the Image of God, that book. And that is a shocking book actually for everyone when they realize what is inside and see how we should behave or know ourselves. But I think through all the discipleship, for me, one goal is to let everyone know themselves better and have a motivation and knowing where to find the answer. So I think that kind of, do you guys get it? Just to realize how much we need to go. How much. So with that knowledge, that recognition, I think, the next step, next stage for your life is continually seeking God in the way what God guided you. For everyone in the group, the knowledge now is not a problem. Where to find some answer is not a problem. The problem is what question we are interested in. So the question what we are interested in is all depends on how we value those information we try to get. Okay. So that's something I think every teens you're going to face up, because many of the answers, the questions, knowledge you can get is seconds. It's not a matter of knowing something, but how, what's the question we want to ask, and what the question we want to dig in. So knowing, what we need is more important sometimes than knowing something, It's just the knowledge about the situation everywhere. Yeah. So.
Are there any questions regarding discipleship? Yeah, one of the reasons we would like the disciples to share their experiences, we definitely see this as a biblical way of teaching youth. And going forward in the fall, and some of the co-workers propose we actually adopt this discipleship format for Saturdays and have small groups, and so it change it up a little bit. And so that would be the discussion for tomorrow. And if you have any questions regarding how this would look like, I think this maybe is the time to ask, because we still have some time, and then we can have more discussion tomorrow regarding the format in the fall. So if there's no more questions, then maybe because I think you guys definitely have a lot of ideas and a lot of, at least from your perspective, what needs to be done. Maybe we kind of bring into small groups, have a little bit of discussion if we would adopt this discipleship format, what should we do? As a group, as a teens group, let's say because right now only 17 teams gone through the discipleship, and if an entire teens group, all teens join, that will be accounted about 45 teams. So how would we do it, and what are the things that you think we should actually address? Maybe we have a couple groups to discuss that. So do you guys understand the question to ask? Yes? What? No, I'm just asking if we break into small groups, do you know what to discuss?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So then, so we have maybe have let's say 4 groups, and we have 4 group leaders. And, maybe I would just ask you the 4 group leaders during the summer group. So Steven and CJ, Josh and Jason, then just Jason, and then JC and Amber's not here, then JC and Jessica and Sarah. Okay. So why don't we have 4 groups and discuss that in the context of the summer and the fall? So we start to discuss that.